Manila, the capital of the Philippines, is a typical city with a lot of people in a small area. More than 20 million people live in a land area of 619 square kilometers, making it one of the most crowded cities in the world. Not only that, Manila is also one of the cities with the largest gap between the rich and the poor in the world. One second you may be in the Makati Central Business District with its luxury hotels, but the next, you are in the slums and even the chilling graves of the living dead. According to the relevant data in 2015, the Philippines sees more than 140 murderers weekly. Duterte has pursued a zero-tolerance policy since taking office as president in the face of criminal activity. Either the suspects are shot down directly on the streets or put in jail. This has improved the security situation in the Philippines, but has also left the prisons overcrowded and overcrowded. Prisons designed to hold 30 people often end up holding more than 200 or even 300. Rizal Provincial Jail, located on the outskirts of Manila, is more a microcosm of the chaotic Philippines than a place of evil redemption. Rizal Provincial Jail is the most suffocating prison in the world. It is in a tropical rainforest climate zone, stiflingly hot, humid and rusty. Here, whether it's a breath of fresh air or a sip of clean water, you have to pay the big boss. This place, where money is the oxygen, is aptly described as purgatory on earth. A steady stream of new prisoners enters here every day, even though the place has long been full. They arrive in wire-wrapped prison cars and enter the prison gates, dragging heavy ankle chains and hanging their heads under the watchful eyes of fierce guards. The new inmates knew at this point that they would be spending their days in a place where the average annual temperature is 35 degrees. There are 150 inmates housed here, 130 men and 20 women. Ostensibly, the prison is run by corrections officers. But in reality, the Philippine prison is controlled by the local mob. It's up to the law to decide what people to put in jail, but it's up to the gang inside to determine what fate awaits them. A gang called Sputnik runs Rizal Provincial Jail, a very influential local gang with a large following in the slums of Manila. When a new prisoner is brought in, the first thing that happens is that a member of the prison gang brings the new prisoner to the gang leader. The gang leader first asks new prisoners if they want to join the gang. Many choose to participate because the consequences of not joining can be very bad. So what do prisoners who don't join the gang go through? Firstly, they need to pay a certain monthly amount for protection, called bodyguard money. Bodyguard money is divided into several grades. Simply put, the more you pay, the better the treatment of life in prison, and vice versa, the greater the oppression will be. Specifically, for those who only pay the lowest level of $9 per month or do not have the money to pay the bodyguard money, there is heavy labor waiting for them every day. For example, cleaning the toilets. Do not underestimate the level of trouble cleaning the toilets. On the one hand, water is scarce in Rizal Provincial Jail. To fill a bucket of water, the inmates often have to wait for at least half an hour by the faucet, watching the water drip into the bucket drop by drop. On the other hand, the number of inmates in the jail was so large that it seriously exceeded its management capacity. To keep the toilets clean, it was only possible to arrange for people to keep cleaning them. In addition to cleaning the toilets, there were also those responsible for cleaning other areas. Although it was not as troublesome as cleaning the toilets, it was not far off. These prisoners are like servants of the gang, providing various services to the gang members, and once things are not done properly, they are often greeted with a severe beating. Some gang members would even drag them over and abuse them just because they were in a bad mood. The prisoners who dare to resist often end up badly, or even somehow die in prison. Prison gangs also have many punitive measures for inmates who do not obey. The most common is confinement, which is very useful, and the hard bones cannot stand to live in a small, closed, dark space every day. Also, 2 hours a day to tie the horse stance. Under these measures, the average person lasts at most 2 weeks to a month, and is then forced to join the gang. After passing through the narrow corridor is the bunk room for 4 people. The small space of only 15 square meters is densely packed with 69 people, whether they are burglars or murderers, gathered together. Carlito, sentenced to 20 years in prison for rape, is the leader of the prison gang in the head of the cell block. He was known in prison as the president and had far more influence than the warden. Don't hurt anyone, don't touch anyone's things, and obey the orders of the head of each cell block. These 3 points are the iron rule of this prison. If someone violates it, the prisoner will also be confined in addition to being punished with a horse stance. This man, for example, was ordered by Carlito to spend a year in confinement for punching a senior leader in the face. If a prisoner wants to spend his days here in peace and deal well with his fellow inmates, he has to ride Carlito's coattails. Otherwise, the prisoner never knows when a burly man will appear behind him with his arm on end, staring at him viciously. The courtyard in the middle of the prison is the center of prison life. Some prisoners make small goods here and sell them to earn some money to pay for the bodyguard money. There are also daily entertainment programs here, but activities like playing cards, video games, and billiards in the Norwegian Halden prison will never exist here. But they have sound equipment to carry out some entertainment activities and find themselves some fun in the difficult life. Most prisoners here are on remand because the Philippines has so many cases that the judicial process is overloaded and slow. No one is sure when their case will be scheduled for trial, and inmates wait as short as 4 or 5 years or as long as a decade. The saddest part is that there is a good chance that 50 to 60% of the inmates are innocent. Emma, a gang leader in the women's cell block, was incarcerated for up to 8 years on drug trafficking charges. Emma is a widow with 3 children at home. During her incarceration, her second daughter died of dengue fever. Today, the court acquitted Emma and released her immediately. After spending 8 years behind bars for no reason, she is about to regain her freedom. She gave the others high fives and happy hugs. But sadly, she has not even seen the last of her second daughter. For security reasons, men and women are detained separately. But they would gather together at the daily release time. Murder suspect Ronald meets with his girlfriend, and the two have a 3-month-old child in prison. After a long wait of 14 years, Ronald's case has finally been scheduled, and he will be sentenced tomorrow morning. His estimated sentence is more than 10 years so that he can accompany his children out of prison as soon as possible. But apparently, his case is not as simple as he thought it would be. Ronald murdered a police officer, was allegedly involved in organized crime in the Philippines, and was charged with other unproven drug trafficking crimes.